Welcome to the world of Japanese candlesticks. Trying to make sense of so many moving numbers is incredibly difficult for a beginner. It's also not a very clever move for most advanced traders. So, let's try to analyze one constantly changing number at a time. That's going to make it a little easier, but then we'll also use an example to do this. Let's say that the stock price of Apple is $50 when the market opens. Thereafter, the market is going to push the price upwards and downwards, and all throughout the day the price is going to keep changing. So a little while later, stock price increases by $1. It was originally trading at 50, but now after the increase, stock price reaches 51. So it's trading at 51 at the moment. A little point later in the day, it decreases by $1, and so it's trading at $50. It decreases again by $1, so stock price reaches 49. Decreases again by $2, and so it reaches, the stock price is trading at 47. Decreases again by $1, and so it's trading at 46. And then there's this increase, a huge increase by $6, so the stock price jumps up from 46 all the way, goes to 52. We have a decrease of $3, so it goes back down to 49. We have an increase by $5, so the stock price reaches 54. And then there is a decrease by $1. The stock price reaches 53, and this is where the market ends up closing. So the opening price is 50, and then there is this huge volatility. It goes up, it goes down, but at the end of the day it closes at 53. Now I'm sure that looking at the way the prices have gone up and down, it is pretty difficult to find any kind of pattern given the way that prices have been moving. Therefore, it's going to be even harder for anyone to predict what is going to happen next. Japanese traders came up with a way to represent these prices in the form of candlesticks and candlestick charts. Candlestick charts make it easier for us to analyze price movements and detect patterns. This makes it easier to predict future price movements. So let's jump right in and see how candlesticks are made. The letter O stands for open, and it refers to the opening price for any specific time period. The letter H stands for high and refers to the highest possible price that any kind of commodity or stock reaches during that time period. The L stands for the lowest possible price during that time period, and the C stands for the closing price for a specific time period. Now I'm going to refer to this as the OHLC in the future instead of saying open, high, low and close. This is critical to understanding how to make or read candlestick charts, because candlesticks are made based out of the open, high, low and close. All candlesticks must have an open, high, low and close, which is basically in the OHLC. So let's jump back into our example and try to figure out the OHLC values, after which we will be able to make a candlestick for the specific time period of our example. So the stock price of Apple computers is $50 when the market opens. This directly means that O equals $50. Now price can go up, it can go down. Since the market opened at $50, O is always going to be fixed at $50. So after the market is open, there are going to be a number of fluctuations in prices. So let's say the stock price reaches 51, and this is what we've done just a few minutes earlier. The opening price, you'll notice, is going to remain the same. We're going to say O equals 50, And now the stock price reaches 51, which means that there has been an increase of 1. So the closing price is always going to be the last price that is being traded. The closing price is denoted by the C, so C equals 51. And during this time period, we only have two figures here. We have 50 and we have 51. So the highest possible price that this stock has gone up to during this time period is 51. Therefore, H is 51, and the low is the same as the opening price of 50. So don't worry too much about this. Once we go through a number of examples, you'll see exactly how to change the OHLC values. Let's take the next one. Stock price decreases by $1. So what happens here is that the current price, right, is 50 because it went down by $1. The closing price should now be 50. That's why it's being reflected here. Remember that the opening price is coming directly from there. It's not going to change. So all of these values are going to remain the same for the opening price. Now the high for both of this time frame or this time period has been 51. So H is going to be 51, L is going to be 50. Let's take the next one. Price decreases by another $1. So opening price is 50. The closing is now 49 because it's gone down by another $1. The high is going to remain the same. The highest possible price, the highest possible number that we have is 51. It hasn't gone up to 52, right? Or it hasn't gone up to 54 or 5. When it breaks through this level, right, so the high is going to change. Otherwise the high is going to remain the same. But we do see that the L, the lowest price, is 49. This is because the closing price goes down from 50 to 49. So the lowest number that we have is 49. That's what the L stands for. Let's do another one. Stock price decreases by a further $2, right? So the opening price is again 50. The high is going to remain the same at 51. The closing is at 47 because it goes down by 2. So 49 minus 2 is 47, and the lowest possible price is again changing and is becoming 47. Stock price decreases by $1. Opening price remains the same at 50, high remains the same at 51, but the closing and the low both become 46. Now price increases by 6. So when it increases by 6, the opening price is going to remain the same at 50. The closing price just goes up by 6. So 46 plus 6 is 52. The closing price is 52 here. The low is not going to change. It's going to remain the same because it hasn't gone down to 45. This is the lowest price during this time period. However, since the close is now at 52, and the previous high that we had was 51, right? So we can't put the high as 51 here. The high during this time period is 52, okay? Stock price decreases by $3. So the opening is 50, the high is 52, the low is 46, and the closing price goes down to 49. Increases by $5. So what happens here is that from the 49 we just go up 5, which gives us a closing price of 54. This 54 is higher than all of the other numbers that we have here. So the high is going to change to 54 and the low is going to remain at 46. And now it decreases by $1. So what happens here is that the closing price goes down to 53. The low, the high, and the opening price remain the same. So if you remember that in the previous example as well, the closing price was 53. You can pause the video and go back, and just to confirm, maybe you can even go through this example a couple of times so that you get the hang of how these numbers are changing and how the OHLC values are being obtained, because these values are going to show us how to create the candle that we're going to use to predict how prices are going to move. So this is very important for you to understand. Before we go any further, what I want you to note is that this last OHLC values that we have give us the opening price, the high, the low, and the closing price for a specific time period. Assuming that we were looking at the daily time frame, which means that the market opens in the morning at $50 and it closes at $53, these are the values that give us the entire summary of what has been happening during that time period.